Good morning, everyone. So, huge news for Brandon Sanderson fans. This bit of news came from the FanX event that I got to go to. That is an event that happens in Utah that is essentially a comic and fandom convention. And it's tremendously fun, and it's one that Brandon Sanderson goes to every year. And inside of this, Brandon Sanderson talked about how he is planning to have an additional person work with him on the Cosmere projects. Now, I have a huge, deep love for the Cosmere because it's what got me back into reading as an adult. It saved me as an adult reader. Particularly The Way of Kings. This book was so powerful to me, so influential to me, that it just kept me on reading and reading. And some of the most beautiful things of the Cosmere is this has these interconnected book series that are independent but also interrelated. Another one that's really famous in this is the Mistborn series, and it's incredible. I can't praise the Cosmere as a whole enough. It's fantastic. So the Cosmere are a bunch of fantasy series that have these independent worlds with their own magic systems, own heroes, own stories, but they're all interconnected and interweaved together in a way that is similar to comic books, where you have Iron Man stories and Captain America stories and Thor stories, and they all come together for an Avengers story kind of a thing, where they're in the same shared universe, even though they have their own independent stories. And that is something that honestly is really unique for things that are written in prose. I just don't see that happening very often because it takes a village to be able to make that happen in real form. And Brandon Sanderson is so prolific, and he's been pumping out so many stories, but we're just getting to a point, I guess, where even with him writing, multiple secret stories that he has, for his recent Kickstarter, things like that, that he's needing additional help in order to put out more stories. We've seen this now. He had a really great sci-fi series called Skyward and Skyward Flight, were multiple stories that were written by Brandon Sanderson and Janci Patterson. So he's already started collaborating and co-authoring stories. Now, he also did that with his Alcatraz series. For the final book in the Alcatraz series, we have Bastille versus the Evil Librarians. This is book 6, and we can see it's Brandon Sanderson and Janci Patterson. So it's another one where those people worked together. Well, at FanX, he said that the Cosmere is going to be going the same direction, and he hired in an individual named Dan Wells. Now, Dan Wells is really interesting, very cool. I've gotten an opportunity to meet him as well. I've met Brandon Sanderson, been able to talk with both of them a couple of different times. And Dan is known for a little bit of a different flavor. Here are a couple of the books that he has done. He's written things like I'm Not a Serial Killer, definite horror vibes there. And he also has had a more like a sci-fi series, starting out with the one called Partials, where you have people who are partially human. And there are some other things that he's done, and I've really enjoyed a lot of the work that Dan Wells has done in the past. And it's a very interesting, different flavor than Brandon Sanderson, but these two individuals are people who have worked together for a long time. They've been in a writing group together since like the beginning of their professional careers. They have done podcasts together for a really long time, and these people have been friends for a long time. So Brandon Sanderson and Dan Wells honestly wasn't a big shock for me to hear that Dan is getting hired into the Dragonsteel Company and is moving forward to be able to make collaborations inside of the Cosmere. So again, the Cosmere is this extended universe where we have these different type of stories. One of the things that we've had are shorter stories where we've explored some things that are actually a little bit more horror, and we've toyed with some other type of vibes or feelings, and I think that things like that would be really perfect for Dan Wells. Dan Wells, when he's writing, he's got some stories like, here's another one. This is from the same series, I'm Not a Serial Killer. the devil's only friend. I mean, there's some really spookier type of vibes there, and it's a really fun series. I think that this is a really great opportunity to be able to expand the Cosmere universe and to be able to reach out for more that this universe has to offer. Brandon Sanderson, in different interviews and things about this specific announcement about bringing Dan Wells in to work with the Cosmere, he's talked about, is this going to be a bigger world beyond me? And he's described how he wants to be able to have it have an end. But he also wants it to be in a place, in a position that if he were to not be able to write anymore suddenly, that the stories would be able to be finished. I think as well, though, that the Cosmere has the potential to be massive, to be huge, and maybe not necessarily, he's not necessarily trying to make another Star Wars universe or another Marvel universe or something very, very big inside of its franchise, but this world has honestly tremendous opportunity, and Brandon Sanderson has been talking about going in with movies or other type of projects that are going to be potentially coming out from the Cosmere world and universe. And I think that this has the potential to be a huge universe. And if it's done right with the movies or shows or animation projects or however they're going to be working, that this has the opportunity to become a tremendously large franchise and something that Brandon Sanderson may need help to be able to continue, because there's just so much content and so much story that us as readers are after. And even though he's pumping out like 3 or 4 books a year, which is incredible and absolutely mind-boggling, there's just still more that we're after as fans. And so getting somebody on like this, I think, is a really great move. I'm a fan for it. I think that it's really good. Let me know what your thoughts are about this whole scenario. I know that Dan Wells and Brandon Sanderson have been good friends, have talked about this universe together for many, many years. And I think that if anybody's on the same page or is able to capture the same vision for the Cosmere, it's going to be Dan. And with Brandon Sanderson and Dan Wells together, I think that we're going to get some really great things done. So those are my thoughts on this, my take as I've read from both of these individuals, and how I think the Cosmere could be so huge and have so much potential that way for a huge franchise. I think I'm just really, really excited about it. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up. That helps so much. I'll talk to you guys later for another video.